Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada, you know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on a beautiful November the 12th, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, we got a damp November 12th, 2018. We've had rain here for the last 24 hours. I wish you could send it out to the West Coast, where you guys are out there in California with all the fire devastation that's going on in Northern and Southern California. We've had enough rain here over the last 24 hours to put out an entire state worth of fires, Charlton.
Wow.
But I'd also like to comment on the negativity that's coming from our Oval Office about the devastation that's going on in California, stating that it was the people of California that caused that.
Yeah.
Charlton, we've had a loss of life, American lives. I believe they've lost over 31 people that they can account to this point, and over 200 missing.
Yep.
And the president has no empathy to the plight of Americans, the devastation that goes to the common man, Charlton. That's a troubling thing when you're talking about the leadership of our country. I know we're a sports program, but we're a reality sports program at that, Charlton.
Yep.
And you have to have empathy for Americans. This is not a political line, Charlton, when it comes down to a fire. This is about human life, Americans' life,
Yeah.
the devastation that we're suffering as a country. And he's talking about cutting off federal funding to the state because the state is dry and suffering these wildfires, Charlton.
Yeah, I think that is incredible. When I heard that, too, I do want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. When we think about, I mean, it's a great time in our country to honor veterans. And you think about what veterans mean. We could even go back to 100 years ago. Yesterday, November 11th, it's when World War I came to an end. And we talk about 100 years ago. That's a lot of time, Big C, when you think about all the things that have happened in this great country of ours. And for our veterans, there's a lot of talk about honoring veterans. And it seemed like every time I saw someone with a military hat on or even shirt, I paid homage to them by saying thank you for your service. And some people were not members of military. They were just honoring the military by wearing, a shirt or a hat, Big C. So I just want to make sure that we all take the time to let people know that we do appreciate them for the service that they've given. And with everything that's going on in our country, it's nice to know. So I just want to say, American sports teams saluted veterans as we salute our veterans. Those that are here, and as well as those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, we should emulate the structure of order that they have in our daily lives. Veterans make the world a better place, and we can make it better by implementing structured order in our daily lives. And I think about that because of what you just said, Big C. But I want to get your thoughts on when you hear POTUS saying something negative, even across the pond, they're frowning on him because he's not a team player, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about the lack of understanding that he has, a man who got 5 or 6 deferments from the military because he didn't feel that it was important enough to serve his country, Charlton.
Yeah.
And not only that, Charlton, today is a day for the past 100 years. American presidents have gone out and honored the veterans on Veterans Day.
Yeah.
And he did not make an appearance outside the White House, Charlton, to honor those veterans because he doesn't know what it means. He doesn't understand. And he saw that when he was over in Europe, Charlton, that he was displaced by being there because he doesn't have the empathy for people who make dedication and sacrifice. He doesn't know anything about that. And when we had all the talk that he's done about the black players in the NFL disrespecting the military and disrespecting the flag, he did the ultimate of that today, Charlton.
Yep.
He disrespected the military and he disrespected the flag because he didn't make the normal presidential appearance, Charlton, at the Veteran Affairs events that go on in Washington, D.C. today, Charlton.
Yeah.
So when anybody wants to have this rhetoric about black NFL players disrespecting the flag, disrespecting the military, this man did not stand for the flag today, Charlton. He did not salute the flag. He did not salute veterans. So anybody wants to have the rhetoric that the black players in the NFL are doing that. Look at the White House. That's where all the disrespect for the military is coming from.
Yeah, I think that's important to bring that up, Big C, especially in light of everything that's gone on. And you think about it, we have the Mueller probe right now. Attorney General Sessions was just fired. POTUS threatening to cut federal funding to California firefighters. And we've lost as much land mass as 5 boroughs of New York City. Could you imagine if 5 boroughs around New York City had burned down? They're expecting over 1 million structures to have been damaged between Northern and Southern California. That would be analogous to almost an invasion of some foreign entity in California alone. And they have POTUS fighting with Governor Brown in California, saying it's happened because of poor forest management. Well, most of these fires are happening in suburbs, Big C. And suburbs mean that people have lost their properties. I gotta let people know, I used to do some work with FEMA in the Small Business Administration, and the federal government makes loans. And they give you loans at 1% to 1.5%. Now, for a lot of these houses that have been displaced, they're going to be rebuilt with FEMA money. That means that money is owned by the federal government, not banking. You got to understand the difference of it. Now, we haven't had these kind of fires before we even had fire departments, Big C. It seems like something more nefarious has gone on than just POTUS saying it's bad management, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's climate change is what it is. I mean, you blaming the wildfires in California on poor forest management. That means you got to have somebody watching every tree in California. That's like blaming a hurricane on the Coast Guard, Charlton, that they didn't block the water from coming ashore or block the wind. So when we look at the national devastation that we've had in this country, Charlton, from tornadoes, from hurricanes, from flooding to wildfires, since he's been president, and not having the empathy for American citizens, but he'll go out and ravage for votes. It's just like, you know, we think about several months ago, Charlton, in America, when they took these children from immigrants trying to come into America.
Yeah.
And he's changed the rhetoric from that. There's still 180 kids in detention, Charlton, that will probably never see their parents.
Yeah.
180 kids 6 months later, Charlton. Right prior to the midterm elections, we heard all this rhetoric about this caravan of migrants coming into this country that was an invasion.
Yeah.
Have we heard that since the midterm, Charlton? He hasn't brought that rhetoric up one time.
No.
You know, he does things to gin up his base.
Yeah.
But he doesn't deal with the issues of America. Now, instead of talking about the plight in California of the residents and the damage and devastation that's going on there, he's talking about voter fraud going on in Florida. There's no voter fraud going on in Florida. What's more devastating to the American economy, the American citizens? The devastation that's going on in California with the loss of life and fires, Charlton, are vote issues in Florida. But because this vote issue deals with a couple of Republican candidates that he wants to have in his back pocket, Charlton, he doesn't care about the good people of California who have lost lives, lost property, lost everything, Charlton.
Yeah, I know, and I know friends who are Democrat and Republican, and everybody can be what they want to be, but some things are bigger than what political party you are. I know a lot of the areas of California that are burned, they have as many Republican voters as they have Democratic voters, and I wonder what they feel when the nation's leader, POTUS, says that he's not going to help fund the emergency money that's needed to help the people that voted for him. And I just wonder, because some things are bigger than politics, how do you feel about the person saying that he's not going to help fund the fire department and the national disaster relief that we need, and you voted for him and you lost your house or you lost a loved one? Some things are bigger than politics. I just wonder where our leadership has gone. I know, everybody has their own thoughts. I just hope that we can all come together as a country. It's really sad. I've been breathing in smoke for the last week, Big C, here in California. It's so bad, it feels like fog.
I understand that marijuana is legal out there. Sometimes you got to put that thing down.
Well, I tell you what, some of that stuff may be part of where these fires are starting. I don't know, but I do know that there are times when they legalize things and people have their own grow houses. I'm not saying I know anything about how it started. I'm just saying there's a lot of people that want to become their own pharmaceutical company, and we have more wildfire. It's the largest in the history of California. Happened to coincide with legalizing a substance that a lot of people can grow in their own backyard. I'm not saying they coincide, but it's just ironic.
Think about this. When you're dealing with hydroponics, you got to have electricity.
Yep.
And if you don't have electricity coming from the power company, then you're running generators.
Yep.
Those generators produce a lot of heat and exhaust stuff, and they can generate spark.
Yeah.
And you have these greenhouses and all. And so I understand exactly what you're saying. That these fires are not all, by Mother Nature, Charlton.
No.
Some of them are man-created.
Yep.
And when you have these excess situations where people are trying to create economics, Charlton, because it's become legal in a state, and you have situations where it's unregulated up in areas, Charlton, because they don't have a license to grow it. And in the hills of California, a lot of these people are probably doing it.
I tell you what, Big C, I know a property appraiser working with a lot of real estate brokers. There are places where she's gone up in Northern California where a lot of these fires are happening. You're not going to hear that stuff on mainstream news. They want to say, well, it's a campfire. They've been having campfires since before they had fire departments, Big C. We didn't have this kind of fire. We didn't have none of that. But this burning through neighborhoods that are well established, and oftentimes people think, well, how do people get that kind of money to build $1 million home in the industry that they live within or that they work around may have your average $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year job? How does someone build $1 million home, sometimes $2 million, and those are the houses burning down in small cities that have been displaced and just burned up the map, when you don't even have an industry like that to support multiple homes worth millions of dollars? Where are they getting the money, Big C? Because, it's just something that makes you wonder. And I think we're starting to see more of that as people realize that was not caused by a lightning strike, Big C. It's happening in neighborhoods. Does that make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the human factor has been the cause of many fires across this country. And to blame it on forestry, as the president has blamed it on forestry, he doesn't look at the human factor. And it doesn't worry about political lines that you're in, Charlton, when you're out there and you're doing something that's careless or reckless, Charlton, that will harm other individuals.
Yeah.
It doesn't ask you if you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, Charlton. When you do something wrong, you do it wrong.
Yeah.
But when you need help, the fire doesn't care whether you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent. It's an American who needs help.
Yeah.
And that's what the concentration should be on from the administration. Not an attack, a fight that you have with a governor of a state, but worry about the people, because you got a lot of votes out of California also, and of those regions that burned also.
Yeah, that's very true. So anyway, our thoughts and prayers are truly with the people of California, this great golden state. And California is burning right now. There's a lot of people who have lost everything, and we hope that they don't lose hope and don't lose faith, if that means anything to you. Big C, I do want to touch a little bit on the world of the sports universe, just to get our minds not off of it, but I don't want to be like the average sports station that says, hey, California's lost about 1 million square footage of things burning down land and property and people displaced. Hey, let's talk about the game. We'll talk about both, Big C, because we are real. In fact, I want to just go to the South for a little bit and deal with some college football. Louisville fires head coach Bobby Petrino a year after his Heisman Trophy winner Lamar Jackson leaves the program for the NFL. Now, how valuable is Lamar Jackson as an entity, a non-income earning entity, but an income producing entity at Louisville? Help the coach keep his job once he's gone to the NFL, where he can actually get paid to play a sport, Big C. They fired the coach that he made look really good when he was running and passing the ball for Louisville, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you think about it, under 2 years with Tino and having Jackson at quarterback, that program had risen to new heights, Charlton.
Yep.
And now that Jackson is gone, that program has reached the lows of college football. I mean, in their last 5 games, Charlton, they've given up over 50 points a game, 77 2 weeks ago to Clemson. But when you talk about black athletes working for free on the college level, Patino gets fired over the weekend, Charlton. He has a $14 million buyout from the University of Louisville. So they're going to give him $14 million to leave, Charlton.
Wow.
$14 million.
Wow.
And the players that they have left in the program, Charlton, they're not going to get a dime. Not one dime from this individual.
Wow.
Lamar Jackson's gone to the NFL. Yes, he's become a millionaire there. But while he was in Louisville, he didn't make any money. But you're going to give Patino $14 million to leave a program. And I'm not for firing coaches
Right.
the season. You know if you're going to get rid of them, wait till the season is over, because you talk about the disruption of the entire program. You've also, hurt the young men that are still there, Charlton, because they're there and they were under one type of leadership. Now it's got to be flipped to another one.
Yep.
And so whoever's going to take over, as the interim head coach. But, now they got to go out for another search, Charlton, and most likely the first guy they'll look at will be Brian Brohm at Purdue.
Yeah.
He was a quarterback at Louisville years ago, Charlton. The Brohm family is big in Louisville, Kentucky. Their dad's a legendary high school coach there, and all the brothers played quarterback there at Louisville.
Yeah.
But even in changing the program, Charlton, with another head coach, now you're talking about another 2 to 3 years as far as that rebuilding curve, as they all talk about.
Yeah.
Well, now he's got to get in his players. This is the thing that's always bothered me when they talk about coaches got to get in his players, like he owns them,
right.
like their property.
Yeah.
Like, I got to get my slaves in here. do the things the way I want them done.
Yeah.
That's basically how the media talks about the athlete when it comes to a program. I mean, we heard that with Scott Frost. Well, he's got to get his players in at Nebraska.
Yeah.
Because Mike Riley's players weren't good enough to play under his system.
Yeah.
So, you got to look at every time you make a change with the coach. Tom Herman at Texas last year, Charlie Strong's players.
Yeah.
And those players are still performing the same way they did with Charlie Strong.
Yeah.
Texas has 3 losses on the season, possibly end up at 4.
Yeah.
That's not much better than what Charlie Strong did. But to use that adjective, he has to get in his players.
His own players.
I never noticed the slave market was still open, Joe.
Well, I tell you what, and people may say that's a little over the top, but they're doing it for free. They're not getting anything out of it for the most part. I was talking to a couple of athletes just over the last week, and they said the same thing you've talked about for years, Big C. They're a lot younger than you and I, but they were just having a conversation. Adrian Ross, and he's a sports agent now, paid for the Cincinnati Bengals, and when you think about it, a lot of the athletes that make it, there's a lot more that don't make it. If you're a college player and you look at that stud on your team, there might be 1 or 2 of you that are going to go pro. But the other guys, the 11 on offense and 11 on defense, hardly any of those guys will ever go pro. And when you think about how, that's just so real that most guys that you see on college football games, they're never going to make any money. But the universities can bring in tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and when they fire a coach because one of those good African Americans went pro, oftentimes those kids, if they get to keep their scholarship, you never even hear about them, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you don't hear about them at all, Charlton, when that occurs. You think about all these players, and, there's been a lot of talk in the past couple of weeks, Charlton, about could the University of Alabama beat one of the worst teams in the NFL, the Bears or the Raiders? No, they couldn't, Charlton, because all of those NFL teams, Charlton, have 53 pro players on the roster.
Yep.
53 of them. Grown men across the board. Whether the quarterback can play or not, they got grown men across the board. Where you look at those college teams, Charlton, they may have 5 to 6 players that may make an NFL roster.
Yeah.
But they're not all number 1 draft picks.
That's right.
But you think about these grown men. It's just like if you go to play a pickup basketball game somewhere, Charlton.
Yeah.
And you got all these former college players there. And then you got all these high school kids saying, we can beat these old guys. Those old guys got grown man strength, okay, and mentality.
Yeah.
They're not going to let them young punks beat them because they got to live with that,
right?
Okay?
Yeah.
So they will do all that they can not to lose to young guys.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't foul out in a pickup game.
Right.
It's like, take it out.
Yeah.
That's all it is, take it out.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about utilization of these young gentlemen, Charlton, they say, well, they're getting a free education out of it.
Yeah.
Those educations are not free. It's at the leisure of that head coach, because when he wants to yank your scholarship, what part of that education is free?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that people never talk about when they sit out there all up upon and say, well, these guys are getting a free education. Look at every university across the country, Charlton, and see how many scholarships are yanked every year. It happens in all major sports, Charlton, that players lose their scholarships for various reasons. It happens all the time, but it's never talked about. Everyone wants to sit out there and say, well, no, they're getting a free scholarship. They're getting a free education.
Yeah.
They're working for it. And the minute their work performance drops, just like out there in mainstream America,
Yeah.
if your employer feels that you're no longer beneficial to them, your time with that company is gone.
Yep.
Just like a lot of these athletes over the years in college sports.
Yeah.
Their time is gone, and they might have 2 to 3 years left to get their degree, Charlton.
Yeah, that's very true. Just running down a couple of games that happened in college football, and we'll go back and get your thoughts on some things. Again, we had Thursday night, Wake Forest beat North Carolina State. It was 27-23. Louisville was blown out by Syracuse 54-23, costing their coach their job. Fresno State fell to Boise State up in Idaho 24-17. That was a great game. Saturday, Alabama 24-0 over Mississippi. Big C, Alabama's defense has not given up a touchdown in the last 2 games. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, just a dominant performance, but we've talked about that as far as them playing an NFL team. They haven't given up a touchdown to a college team, Charlton. And neither one of those teams that they didn't give up a touchdown to had a quarterback that will play in the NFL. That's the thing you look at, number one. They're playing against quarterbacks that will not play in the NFL. But they're a dominant team on the college level, Charlton.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing all the things it takes to win week in and week out, and that's what you do. But, you know, you think about Alabama as good as they are, Charlton.
Yeah.
They have a late season game this week coming up against Citadel, okay?
Is that a college? Is that a college? They play football there?
So when you talk about playing a dominant schedule on the college level,
yeah.
You know, it's like Mississippi State was moved into the top 25 to give Alabama strength of schedule.
Yeah.
They had 3 losses coming into this game, Charlton.
Yeah.
But they were put into the top 25 so it would look good on Alabama's resume.
Yeah.
Alabama's had one decent team on the resume, and that was LSU.
Yeah.
That was it, because they had moved up the ranks. But Mississippi State, with 3 losses, was snuck into the top 25 so they could say Alabama had played 2 ranked teams in the schedule.
Yeah, it's all about who you know and how you position. Number 2, Clemson, 27-7 over Boston College. May have been Clemson's last big test of the season, even including the ACC championship game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this was one of those games that Clemson didn't perform well. You know, we talked about could they bring some of those 77 points that they scored the week before against Louisville. No, they couldn't put that in the bank.
Right.
They had to go out and try to play all over again.
Yeah.
But being up there at Boston College, Charlton, the weather was cold. Clemson wasn't used to that, coming from South Carolina where, you know, the temperature is a little more milder. So it took them a while to get on track, Charlton. They struggled in that game. Boston College played hard-nosed football against them. So it could be a struggle when they get to the ACC championship game, Charlton.
Yeah.
That weather's going to be cold that time of the year in Charlotte.
That's a very good point. Now, Notre Dame 42-13 over Florida State. I remember back in the day when Notre Dame knocked off number 1 Florida State in South Bend. I think Lou Holtz was the coach, and, of course, you had Florida State was just rolling back in the day. But this is a different Florida State team. They got to start rebuilding. We knew their offensive line was not that good coming into the season. But I think without Book being in there that under the helm for Notre Dame still found a way to win that game. Their quarterback has still had not lost the game, even though he's been much maligned as a starter. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Brandon Wimbush, Charlton, on senior night had an outstanding game for Notre Dame. Actually, Notre Dame scored the most first-half points they had in any game this season, Charlton, 35.
Yeah.
He looked sharp after sitting on the bench for several games, Charlton, not getting any playing time. But he stepped in. I mean, first thing, you know, if the colors were opposite of the quarterbacks, they would say there was a quarterback controversy.
Yeah.
They know that when Book comes back, he's going to be the starter, and Wimbush will be relegated back to the bench. But I was proud of his teammates, Charlton, stepping up, playing their best game of the year with this guy who's been there with them, Charlton, for 4 years. When he was benched, he didn't become a distraction to the team, Charlton.
No.
He was just like Jalen Hurts at Alabama. Lost his starting job, Charlton, but he was a team player.
Yeah.
And he sit there, he waited on his time. Book got hurt. He got a chance to come back in and show that he could still lead that Irish team, Charlton, if he was called upon.
He reminds me of Tony Rice, who helped Notre Dame win their last championship back in late 1989. I know they played USC, and at the Coliseum it was 1 versus 2, and then they went on to play. It was West Virginia down in Tempe, Arizona, and they won the national championship. Major Harris was a quarterback for the Mountaineers. It featured two African-American college quarterbacks playing for the College Football National Championship. Not one of them got a major chance to play in the NFL, but we know how that happens, Big C. I want to look at Michigan 42-7 over Rutgers, and I really hope for Rutgers' sake. I know they joined the Big Ten to get the money, but a team from New Jersey that just can't win games, they need to play in the East, not just because they can't compete with Big Ten, but for their student body and fan base to travel to a game to watch them get beat up on, Big C, week after week. At least if they're in the East Coast, they don't have to travel as far to watch the team get whipped, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, you think about the talent that comes out of New Jersey. Ohio State's quarterback, Haskins, is from New Jersey. Many of fine players around college football, Charleston, are from that state. They have not been able to keep the top talent in the state at home, Charleston. But this is a program since Greg Schiano left Rutgers, Charleston, and went on to become the head coach of Tampa Bay with the Buccaneers, has gone, strictly downhill. They haven't found a way to stop the skid, Charleston, there with the Scarlet Knights, and hopefully at some point they'll get that program turned around.
Yeah, hopefully they'll do that, Big C. I want to look at, I think what I heard was the oldest rivalry in the Deep South, at least for Division I, Big C. Georgia, number 5, knocked off Auburn, number 24. For some reason, they're still ranked in the top 25. 27-10. It was really a beat down by Georgia. They're a very solid program. But I hear there's some argument about whether that's the oldest Division I rivalry in the South, Big C. But what a way for Georgia to bounce back and show that they're really one of the top teams in the country. And this would be 2 years in a row now, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, here it is that they're setting themselves up for an opportunity to play Alabama in the SEC championship game. It's still not, the season's not over yet, the regular season.
Yeah.
So they still must make sure that they keep playing at a high tempo.
Yep.
They're hoping to get Alabama in that SEC championship game, Charleston, because if they win that SEC championship game, Charleston, once again you'll have two SEC teams in the Bowl Football Championship, because they won't keep Alabama out because just a reputation.
Yeah.
And Georgia would catapult themselves in by beating Alabama. But the problem is, Charleston, who would fall if all the other teams remain undefeated?
Well, I think eventually in the next 5 years we'll probably see at least, if not 6 teams of 1 and 2, the 1 or 2 ranked have a bye. It may just go to 8 teams to make it easier, but then you're still going to have number 9 and 10 complaining. If we have 8 teams in the playoffs, it's a lot easier to get a team that has 1 loss. You could be a quality loss as opposed to an undefeated team with no quality wins, Big C.
Well, Charleston, they're not going to go to 8 teams because there's still 7 years left on this contract.
Yeah.
Everybody keeps saying, okay, let's go to 18. Well, you got to also look at the 8 teams. If you go there, what do you do to the bowl structure that's been in America forever? Granted, there's too many bowl games being played.
Yeah.
But you're going to alter some of that. So what I would like for it to be, Charleston, is that it goes to 5 teams.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's go to 5. Let's have a 4 and 5 in a playoff. Okay? They play themselves in. The number 4 team and the number 5 team in the country, Charleston, have a 1-game playoff. The winner of that game, Charleston, is going to play number 1. Okay?
Yeah.
That's what. Well, they're going to play number 3 or 2, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that would be the best way. You got a Power 5 conferences. Okay? So that means that somebody from each one of these conferences get in. Because there's an undue balance, because the West Coast will never get any favor. You look at Washington State.
Yeah.
They're the number 1 team in the West Coast, Charleston. I believe they're 8-1 on the season.
Yeah.
Now, if they continue their plight, Charleston, and go on and win the Pac-12 championship, they're going to end up the season, 12-1?
Yep.
At the end of the season, Charleston, 11-1, 12-1?
Yeah.
And they're not going to get any consideration from the bowl committee, Charleston, about getting in there, even though they have the nation's number 1 passer at Washington State.
Yeah.
They won't get any consideration from the bowl committee, Charleston, the playoff committee, about getting into the playoffs.
Wow.
And that's totally unfair.
Yeah.
That you have the best team in a Power 5 conference, and you have the same record, Charleston, as most likely one of these teams are going to have a loss, and you get no consideration.
Yep. And with Alabama playing Citadel of all teams coming up this week, Washington State's looking at the Apple Cup coming up pretty soon. Washington State 31-7 over Colorado. That was up in Boulder. That was a cold game, and that's a game where Washington State can score with anybody. Their defense is playing better, but they're up in the Palouse, and they just don't get the same. That is not as sexy as saying Alabama as it is Washington State. I think if you can win the Pac-12, you deserve a chance to get in. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, you should. Why have a Power 5 conferences if you're going to exclude one of the conferences.
Yeah.
And you look at the situation, how it's made up, Charlton. The PAC hasn't been in there every year.
No.
The SEC has been in every year.
Yeah.
The ACC has been in every year. The Big Ten has been in every year.
Yeah.
But the Pac-12 has not been in the playoffs every year. So why do you have a Power 5? That's why I'm saying you have a 5-team playoff, Charlton.
Yeah.
Number 4 and 5 play each other to settle the 4 teams that's going to be in the finals.
Well, let me give you a thought on a team that can outscore anybody, but also their defense is not legit. Oklahoma, number 6 in the country, 48-47 over Oklahoma State. How comfortable would you feel putting in Oklahoma, knowing that their defense is probably going to give up at least 40 for the national championship playoffs? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you got to worry about that other team. Can they score?
Yeah.
Are you going to have as equal a high-powered offense as Oklahoma, Charlton? This is a team that's averaging, I believe, about 47 points a game.
Yeah.
That means you got to score 48 to beat them.
Yeah.
You know, this is a team that goes up and down the field.
Yeah.
And I know everybody says the eyeball test, but Kyler Murray, Charlton, is as most lethal an offensive weapon as there is in college football.
Yeah.
So he doesn't play defense, but he makes sure that his team entertains you offensively, Charlton, because I haven't seen a game yet that they scored less than 45 points.
Yep.
That I've seen them in.
Yep.
I know they had a couple that were less than that, but every one that I've seen them in, they've done that. I mean, when you look at tackling and playing defense in football now, Charlton, it all depends on where you are in the country.
Yeah.
On what officials let you get away with as far as hitting players.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen some guys, Charlton, that have had some illegal hits, no calls.
Yeah.
I've seen guys with non-illegal hits get kicked out of games. So, you know, it all depends on the officiating in the conference, what's allowed. But, you know, it's been taught to players anymore on defense that you can't punish guys on offense. You can't hit them.
Yep.
So that's really affected a lot of these huge scores that we get now in college football.
Yeah, I agree very much. It's always about who your favorite and what region of the country. And then the pollsters want certain teams into. A few more college games. Big C, LSU 24-17 over Arkansas. LSU's 8-2 and ranked number 7 in the country. A team that was shut out. A good bounce back for LSU. Then West Virginia, a team that you really like. They're in the same boat as Washington State. If you look at West Virginia, they're now 8-1 on the season. They're ranked number 9 in the country. They blow out TCU 47-10. That was a bigger margin than what Ohio State beat TCU back in the day. If any team, I think West Virginia might even be a better brand of football than Washington State, even though they're kind of similar to each other. But it seems like West Virginia scores a few more points than Washington State. If there's an outside team getting in, I look at West Virginia. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, West Virginia has to play Oklahoma, Charlton. They're both in the Big 12 championship game against each other.
Yeah.
Two quite similar offenses, both high-powered quarterbacks. You have Kyler Murray versus Will Greer. Both of these quarterbacks on a weekly basis are good for 3 to 4 touchdown passes, Charlton. Daniel Holgorsen at West Virginia is a heck of a coach, Charlton. He grew up under Mike Gundy there at Oklahoma State, where he was an assistant coach prior to getting a head coaching job, Charlton. He's known as that barroom gambler.
Yeah.
That he'll go for it, on 4th down. He'll go for the 2-point conversion, Charlton. And he has West Virginia sitting at 9-1. Other than that hiccup at Iowa State that they had, Charlton, that a lot of teams go into that place and when they're ranked and come out with a loss, Charlton. But this is a great offensive team. We've seen them the past couple of weeks, and Will Greer, like I said, is dropping 3 to 4 touchdowns every week.
Well, he's amazing quarterback, basically. Another team I'll mention just because I know they haven't lost a game in 2 years. University of Central Florida 9-0, 35-24 over Navy. Yeah, Navy's 2-8 on the season, but when you're undefeated, you gotta get the acknowledgement Big C Sports loves looking at teams that are undefeated. I also want to get your thoughts on a few things that we can get into before we get into another segment. Power 5 Conference Championship games, SEC, Georgia, Alabama, Big Ten, Northwestern versus Michigan, ACC, Pittsburgh versus Clemson, and Big 12, West Virginia versus Oklahoma, Utah in the Pac-12, Utah versus Washington State. I want to get your thoughts on what team, if any, could take a loss and still be considered as a top 6 team looking for an outside chance at the bowl championship. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we talked about the West Virginia-Oklahoma game, Charlton, for the Big 12 championship. So those are two teams that, ironically, can knock each other off twice.
Yeah.
They're going to play twice. They play at the end of the season, and they play in the conference championship game.
Yeah.
So you think about it, having to face an opponent twice in a 3-week span, Charlton. You know, it's just one of those unlikely scenarios, but you have to win both of those games just to have a chance to make the College Bowl playoffs.
Yeah, and we look forward to it. It's all going to be great. We love this time of year where everything is great. Again, just with everything in California, all the smoke that's in the air. I even noticed doing the show, Big C, it's a little bit taxing just taking a deep breath and realizing you're sucking in smoke as opposed to fresh air. We just want to make sure, please check on the elderly. Everybody knows someone, they can't get around like young people. And sometimes they don't have a cell phone. I know emergency people are saying if someone's been reported missing, if you find them, please also recall the emergency people so they don't have to spend resources looking for them. Make sure you check up on your loved ones. Big C, sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop league, when you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. Did the NHL settle concussion lawsuit with the Players Association, but not admit to wrongdoing? What's the purpose of settling a lawsuit if you don't admit to wrongdoing, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you know, you think about the NHL, Charlton, and it's probably the most violent of all sports that we have that is a contact sport. You know, you have a sport where there's unlimited fighting, Charlton, where you can smash an opponent into the boards.
Yeah.
Which is this hard plexiglass, Charlton, that they have. Concussions have always been common in the NHL, but you settle this concussion lawsuit and you admit no liability.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what's odd to me, Charlton, is that you have no liability, but you said, we will give you money, but we're not liable.
Right.
You know, which is a strange thing, Charlton. So it's like with concussion protocol in NFL. You've known that these things have existed forever. And now all of a sudden you're saying, well, we know it's there, but we don't want to be known for wrongdoing, that we hid this technology for years, that we knew that these situations were occurring with former players and even current players.
Yeah.
And so take the money, but don't come back and sue us for more later.
Yep, I think that's incredible. But, you know, sometimes money talks. When you pay people, it tends to make things go away. Big C, I want to get your thoughts on the NBA for a minute before we get into NFL football. We know we have a game coming up tonight. Jimmy Butler's gotten his wish. He was traded. The 76ers are now going to take him on. And now, over the weekend, we'll see how they fare with the big three. If you're already Philly and you're doing the process, why do you need Butler to come in and be another guy sitting down at the dinner table wanting more food, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, what you need is a leader in that team. But when you think about the process in Philadelphia, you've never drafted a shooter. You've drafted good, dominant players,
yeah,
but you never drafted a shooter.
Yeah.
You drafted Markelle Fultz last year, and he can't shoot the ball. And he was supposed to be the shooter.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler gives you instant credibility as far as leadership.
Yeah.
So this is a guy who believes in competing. And that's what you want at that level. It doesn't make them the best team in the East because, I mean, you're looking at Boston, you're looking at Toronto, and you're looking at Milwaukee. But it makes them more competitive, Charlton. I don't think it rises them above number 4.
Right.
But now they have some veteran leadership on that team, Charlton, that can demand more from the younger players. He was doing that in Minnesota, but the egos in Minnesota did not allow for that to happen. Wiggins never wanted to play defense.
Yeah.
Karl Anthony Towns, it seems like he took a step back this year from the performance he had last season, Charlton. So hopefully he can help Philadelphia move just a little further in the process.
Big C, the Lakers on the West Coast, they're on a 3-game winning streak and have won 5 of the last 6 games. The first time over 500 in the last 2 seasons. Trusting the process, LeBron James, yes. They were up in Northern California playing at Golden One Center against the Sacramento Kings, and there was so much smoke in the top of the arena. I know on Saturday the NCAA canceled 2 college football games in California, but there's too much money. They were still talking about canceling maybe the Rams in Seattle, and then tonight over in San Francisco, the Giants playing the 49ers. But the smoke that they had inside the arena, players were complaining that was not healthy for them, but that's too much money for the league to say, hey, we're going to put your health first. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, the thing about basketball is not like baseball where you can have a cancellation on a game, Charlton, and go play a doubleheader later on in the schedule as far as a makeup game. The NBA is structured time, travel, all those things. It's just the scheduling makes it very tough. So, you know, you either got to knock that game completely out of the schedule, Charlton, but what if it comes down to seeding later on in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Then you got a problem. You got to try to get those teams together at the end of the season when everybody else is finished.
Yeah.
You know, this is the thing about scheduling. It doesn't bring into the fact that y'all natural disasters that can take place. I mean, we've seen that when things have happened before. There's been earthquakes, games have been played, there's been flooding, games have been played, Jonathan.
Yep.
Professional sports is going to get played. Nothing takes the place of that. That's what people have to understand. But when you look at the Lakers and this being over 500, Jonathan, for the first time in 2 years, you look at the move that they just made last week, bringing in Tyson Chandler.
Yeah.
They're 3-0 with Tyson Chandler in the lineup, Jonathan. They found something that will bring some cohesiveness. You got a defensive player in the middle of all that.
Yeah.
You know, and there's some talk right now with Houston getting rid of Carmelo Anthony, you know, probably before this week is over, Jonathan, because he just hasn't panned out. Could that be another move that the Lakers make to bring in another veteran player, Jonathan? Because the process in Los Angeles is win now.
Yeah.
You know, 2 years ago it was about developing young players, Jonathan. You don't worry about developing young players when you're bringing in 10 and 15-year veterans into your organization. You're bringing in players to win now.
Yeah.
And that's what the Lakers are doing. They're gathering a bunch of old guys and say, let's have one more run at this.
Yep, they're doing the right thing. I think with LeBron James, wherever he goes, they're going to get the benefit of the doubt, and it's good to see that he can make a change for any team. I want to look at the world of professional football. Canada, our home and native land. We love Canada. The CFL and the CFL Divisional Semifinals, it was the Hamilton Tiger Cats 48, British Columbia Lions 8, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, they fell to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers 23-18. And now the division finals we have, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, they'll take on the Ottawa Red Blacks, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will take on the Calgary Stampeders. So that's our CFL build up to the Grey Cup, the oldest professional football organization in North America. And we're also now, after we thank Canada, we want to swing back down south. Why do they call the United States South when they're in Canada, Big C? Is it just another country, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I thought Mexico was South. When we look at it, this is mid-America, when you think about it continental-wise.
Yeah. Now, we love our brethren in Canada. I want to kick the ball to the United States, the NFL, and you look at what happened in the NFL. I mean, it's a great game, but before we even get on to the games that happened this weekend, I want to finish up with what happened last night. Everybody has their own thoughts. Last night, the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, much maligned in the NFL by all the pundits. Even I thought Chris Collinsworth was trying to play that good old boy network, and it's just my own opinion, but I followed Collinsworth for a long time, even when he played for Cincinnati. Now, he's a receiver, not a quarterback, but he was trying to diagnose Dak Prescott as if he was a quarterback coach. And he kept trying to point out his flaws, that Dak has to throw the ball so the guy can come back to it. Dak has to lead him more. It was always Dak. Well, he wasn't doing the same thing when Wentz made a mistake, Big C. At the end of the day, Dak accounted for 3 touchdowns, 2 passing, 1 rushing. And instead of saying how great Dak was in the win, going on the road, beating Carson Wentz, which everyone thought the Eagles were going to win, it's as if they gave it the Dallas Cowboys the victory. But when they were not having success, it was about Dak not doing it right. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you look at these two organizations and you talk about the digression. You hear that all the time about Dak Prescott, is that he's not progressing, he's degressing.
Yeah.
You know, what is the comment on Carson Wentz? You know, this is a player that was last year talked about being the potential MVP of the NFL. And he has a team now that the team won the Super Bowl without him. But with him at quarterback, this team is now 4-5, Charlton. They've lost 3 games at home this year.
Yeah.
3 games. And so no one is talking about the digression of a Carson Wentz. It's all in his supporting cast where the problem is.
Yep.
There's no problems with Carson Wentz. But he's not, I see the same type of makeup I get a lot with Aaron Rodgers. Well, you got to give him a chance to win the game. Well, I think at the kickoff, you have a chance to win the game.
Yeah.
You have the same opportunity as your opposing quarterback. And if you don't execute that, Charlton, then you've lost it.
Yep. I think that's a very good. But I think you're right. And no one's going to call people out. All I say is Google it. I don't care who you are. If we say something wrong, Google us too. But I thought Collinsworth was over the top trying to do that great white hype stuff last night. And Al Michaels sat there and let him do it. Big C, the Chargers, 20-6 over the Raiders. And now you have Davis saying that maybe it's his fault and it's not John Gruden's fault. Well, hold on, Davis, pump your brakes. You didn't trade away everybody. Gruden did. Before Gruden showed up, most of the Raiders guys that are still there, they were also part of the Raider organization that made the playoffs under Jack Del Rio. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, you think about what Mark Davis said. He was completely accurate. And, I mean, he's not covering for John Gruden. He told the truth. He made the mistake. It's his fault. Who hired John Gruden?
Yep, but he tried to say, yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, listen to what he's saying.
Yeah.
Don't misconstrue the story.
Yeah.
Listen to actually what he's saying. The problem with the Raiders is his fault. He hired John Gruden. He got rid of Jack Del Rio.
Yeah.
He allowed the trades to take place. Trust me, he did. So what he said was accurate. I think a lot of people in the media want to say, well, he's trying to cover for John Gruden. No, he's telling everybody how stupid he was.
Yeah, he was
that
stupid
he hired
doing
a guy that had no experience over the last 10 years of coaching the game because he could sit up in a broadcast booth and you know, call a game. So that means that every broadcaster in the NFL right now, every analyst, take that back, not broadcaster, but every analyst in the NFL is analyzing the game is qualified to be an NFL head coach.
Yep.
That's what Mark Davis said. He said, the guy won a Super Bowl with Tony Dungy's defense, you know, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think that's a qualification that if he comes in here and he takes Jack Del Rio's defense, then maybe he can win here. He didn't realize that he was going to get rid of Jack Del Rio's defense, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So when he said he takes the blame for it, he was accurate because he made the stupid move of hiring the dude.
Yeah, and sometimes you got to let, you know, how long do you take the Titanic before you get off the ship car on a fourth down later in the game? A fourth down. There's an intentional grounding. They didn't call a grounding, but he almost spiked the ball instead of throwing the ball deep into the end zone where maybe one of his guys could have made a play because he wants out. We've been telling you this all year. Okay, he wants out, and sometime eventually people said the Cowboys 27-20 over the Eagles. Big C, the Bears are who we thought they were, 34-22 over the Lions. If you're Stafford making $100+ million, why are you 3-6 on the season, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this has been Matthew Stafford's career. You know, I mean, you fired Jim Caldwell last year after going 9-7. You bring in Matt Patricia. And now you've only won 3 games. You have no chance of getting to that 9 victories that you had last year, Charlton. But, you know, it's going to come down to that same thing. Well, he has to get his system in place.
Yeah.
There's always an excuse for guys who come in and take a team that was successful, and all of a sudden that team makes a backward track, Charlton. And that's what you got in Detroit. You get rid of your best receiver 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
You get rid of your last year's rushing leader last week, Charlton. You got rid of your top tight end at the beginning of preseason. So there's a lot of moves that's been made by this coaching staff. Matthew Stafford has never been a winning quarterback. He's been an NFL quarterback making a lot of money.
Yep.
But, you know, it comes down to that thing. What are you going to do? What are you going to find that's better?
Well, I tell you what, just find somebody who can win more than 4 games at this juncture of the season. Talk about a team that's really setting themselves apart. It's amazing how well the Saints can play. They're now 8-1 in the season. They're 5-0 away from home. Talk about home field advantage. Big C, they don't need it. 51-14 beatdown of the Cincinnati Bengals, who fall to 5-4, but the Saints go marching in. Big C, they're 5-0 on the road. Big C, your thoughts, New Orleans?
Well, Charlton, I think that was the most impressive victory of the weekend. When you think about the Saints, you know, they dominated home the prior week against the Rams. They stopped the NFL's only unbeaten streak. Then they go on the road to cold weather in Cincinnati, Ohio, Charlton, and just dominate the Cincinnati Bengals, Charlton. This is the first time that a team, Charlton, has scored on 9 consecutive possessions in the modern era of the NFL.
Yeah.
They scored 9 consecutive times when they touched the football.
Wow.
This is a team offensively, you know, and everybody was saying, well, they signed Dez Bryant. What was he going to do for the offense? He's going to do a thing for it because he got hurt.
Yeah.
And this offense doesn't miss anybody, Charlton. Everybody in the Saints offense plays an integral role. But one of the things we forget about with how well their offense is playing, Charlton, is how well their defense is playing.
Yeah.
By not allowing their opponents to score. You shut down the high-powered Rams the week before. You shut down an offense in Cincinnati that has been scoring at a professional clip, Charlton.
Yep.
And you're staying. You right now, you're the hottest team in the NFL.
Yeah. No, they're definitely amazing, Big C. And you think about what they tried to do, getting Dez Bryant. They're still trying to make their team better. And you have the 49ers, and we'll cover them later, with Garoppolo. Can't play, $137 million, more money than Drew Brees, and he won't do anything by going to the organization and say, hey, I'm a leader. Let's renegotiate my contract so we could do what the Saints are doing, what the Rams are doing, teams that are competing for the playoffs are doing. They're going after people who can play and make their team better. You think Garoppolo's done that, Big C? The Browns 28-16 over the Falcons. Matt Ryan falls to 4-5 on the season and 1-3 on the road, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, when you look at the Falcons, Charleston, the last 3 games, the only team that was hotter than them offensively probably in the NFC was the Saints.
Yep.
But, you know, to go into Cleveland and Charleston and suffer this devastating loss, and now you have a 4-game split between you and the Saints, who basically locked up the division with that victory that they had and the loss that the Falcons had. But you know, here's a team in Cleveland. You know, they started playing Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb had the longest run in Brown history. He had a 92-yard touchdown run against this Falcons
Amazing.
defense. This was a back that, you know, they struggled to get playing time. If you recall that game they had against Oakland where he had the 2 long touchdown runs, Charlton.
Yep.
And they couldn't find time, so they finally got rid of Carlos Hyde, a guy that they signed in free agency that, you know, you had 2 young running backs in Duke Johnson and Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
They got rid of Hyde, and all of a sudden they won again, Charlton.
Yep. It's amazing what happens when you find the guy that's getting the yards, give him the rock. The Titans 34, the Patriots 10. The Titans are 5-4 in the season. They're 3-1 at home. The Patriots, you know, they're the NFL's prodigal team. They love to see them win. They're 7-3. The Patriots are only 2-3 away from Gillette Stadium. The Patriots are not going to the Super Bowl this year, Big C. They're not going to get home field advantage, and they have a losing record on the road, Big C. That's a telltale sign. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, you know, when you think about 2 of the losses that they've suffered on the road this year have been against personnel that Bill Belichick has had on his defense. Matt Patricia, defensive coordinator for years, and Vrabel, who was a linebacker with Patriots organization and
Yep.
won a couple of Super Bowls on that side of the ball on defense, Charlton, playing linebacker and also some tight end periodically because he caught several touchdown passes from Brady during his career. But they had the answer. You know, you had some former Patriots on this team, Charlton, Deion Lewis and Butler. They knew what the Patriots were running. They knew the offense and they knew the defense. They knew how to get to the Patriots, Charlton,
Yep.
be physical with them.
Yep.
And you can see that, you know, Tom Brady looked a little timid in the pocket.
Yeah.
They came after him, they hit him, Charlton, and he just felt uncomfortable. And when you get this team uncomfortable, Charlton, and they're on the road, they're vulnerable.
They are vulnerable. Big C, the Colts 29-26 over the Jaguars. And when you think about Andrew Luck, how well he started to play, they're now 4-5 on the season. They're 2-2 at home. The Jaguars, an AFC Championship game last year, only 3-6 on the season, and they're only 1-3 on the road. The Colts look good, but it was against a team that's 1-3 away. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, here's the Jaguars, Charlton, and everybody thought that they were just a season away from getting back to the AFC Championship game as well as they played last year. They had a very formidable defense. That defense has become very pedestrian. But the quarterback has become even more pedestrian, Charlton, than the defense.
Yeah.
You know, Blake Bortles just cannot command this team. Indianapolis is playing well. You know, their offense is starting to click. And when you look at the Indianapolis offense, Charlton, you'll ask yourself, who's there helping Andrew Luck?
Yeah.
There's nobody at the skill positions that people know who they are, Charlton. But Andrew Luck has surprised a lot of people on how well he's played. The coach need to improve themselves a little more on defense. I think they're a year and a half away, Charlton, from being a challenge in that division.
They look like that's the case, Big C. The Chiefs 26-14 over the Cardinals. They go to 9-1 of the season, 5-0 at home. The Cardinals, they're really in a rebuilding season, Big C. But 26-14, not the most explosive outcome for the Chiefs offense, but still, they find a way to win, and they still won by double digits, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this was probably the poorest performance offensively of the Chiefs all year long. Patrick Mahomes up a little over 250 yards passing and only 2 touchdowns. But they found a way to win the game, Charlton. The defense is the thing you have to look at. The Kansas City Chiefs defense has gotten better as this season is going on. You look at the second half of the games that they've played already, Charlton,
Yep.
that they've reduced their defensive production off, points-wise by half.
Yeah.
So they've gotten better as they've gone along, Charlton. And if they can keep competing at that level, Charlton, they got the Rams coming up next week. we're really going to find out who can play defense in the NFL.
That'll be a good show. Maybe they're looking ahead, Big C. The Bills, 41-10 over the Jets. They're 3-7 on the season. 2-4 away. The Jets fall to 3-7 and 2-3 at home. McCoy brushed for a touchdown on the second play of the game and looked really good in this game. But the Jets, they're going to blame Todd Bowles for it. But the Jets, for some reason, everybody was saying how Darnold is going to turn the Jets around. And we said he needed another year at USC. I think Big C Sports was right on that acclamation, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about the state of New York, you got 3 professional teams. You got the Bills, you got the Jets, you got the Giants. Who would have thought that the Bills would be the best team in the state of New York?
Yeah.
Best pro team in the state of New York.
Wow.
Well, nobody would have. And think about this.
Yeah.
Peterson didn't play. Matt Barkley walks in, they hang 41 points up. How in the hell does Nathan Peterman keep getting a check in the NFL? I mean, you went out and you got Derek Anderson off his couch a month ago.
Sleeping.
You go get Matt Barkley, who was, selling cars somewhere in Southern California.
Yeah.
And you bring him in, he hangs up 41 points.
Yeah.
So the Bills may not be as bad a team as people thought that they were, and even us, as we've labeled them to be.
Yeah,
they
that's
just need a
true.
quarterback that can throw the ball down the field.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Big C. The Redskins 16-3 over the Buccaneers. Redskins go to 6-3-1. They're 3-1 away on the road. Keep that in mind. The Buccaneers fall to 3-6 and 2-2. I want to get your thoughts. 16-3. The Bucs can usually score about 30 points even if they lose those games. 3 points, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they had over 400 yards in offense, Charlton. This is the first time in the NFL history that a team has over 400 yards in offense and only scores 3 points.
Wow.
So when you look at Tampa, and you talk about coaches that are going to be gone, Dirk Cutter is going to be gone out of Tampa. But, what's the remedy down there? You got a quarterback in Fitzpatrick who can put up a lot of yards but can't put up a lot of points right now, Charlton.
Yeah.
The defense played well against the Redskins.
Yeah.
But they should have dominated the Redskins, Charlton. This is a team that was without 3 of its starting offensive linemen.
Yeah. And
they were still able to run the ball on Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's amazing, Big C. In the last couple of minutes, the Packers 31 and the Dolphins 12. The Dolphins are 5-5 on the season, 1-4 away. The Packers are 4-1, and they're 4-1 at home. If they can get into the playoffs, they're going to be on the road, Big C. Give me your thoughts on the Packers with a nice win finally over a team in the Dolphins, and now Rodgers did not have to blame anyone for not being a good teamate. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I guess it was a bad week for the state of Florida. All the teams in Florida lost. Jacksonville, Miami, Tampa.
Yeah.
But Aaron Rodgers, the media didn't have to say, well, Aaron didn't get a chance to have a comeback in the fourth quarter. He did what he was supposed to do, Charlton.
Yeah.
Get his team out to a lead so when the fourth quarter rolls around, it's about them playing defense, not about him having an opportunity to bring his team from behind. But, Brock Osweiler had that great game 3 weeks ago, Charlton, where he came out and beat the Bears.
Yep.
Since then, he's became Brock Osweiler.
Yeah, I tell you what, he's actually, we're just going to have to see what happens as the end of the season approaches. But the biggest game in Southern California, maybe even on the West Coast, the Seattle Seahawks in L.A., they fall to the Rams, but it was a back-and-forth game. Seattle falls to 4-5 on the season, 3-3 away, and the Rams go to 9-1 on the season. They're still 5-0 at home, and they look like a team that could turn it on, but I think they still need to leave to get back on defense, to shore things up on defense. And I think Floyd Money Mayweather, he even walked away with 2 footballs, Big C, that he didn't have to pay for. But the Rams and Seahawks, that was a game that could have gone either way, but the Rams found a way to win it in the end, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that was an outstanding game for the fans, 36-31. The Rams came out with a victory, but the Rams have to worry about their run defense, Charlton.
Yeah.
They gave up over 200 yards on the ground to the Seahawks. Russell Wilson had a decent day, Charlton, but that pass rush of the Rams, Charlton, will get in a quarterback's face. And Mahomes is going to have to worry about that next week when they play in Kansas City down there in Mexico.
Yeah.
But Aaron Donald had 2.5 sacks in the game. Charlton Sue had a half a sack. But they put consistent pressure on Russell Wilson. And that was the difference at the end of the game, Charlton, was their pass rush, putting pressure on the quarterbacks. Todd Gurley still looked like an MVP performer on offense, Charlton.
Yeah, and I tell you, tonight's game, Big C, you have the San Francisco 49ers and the New York Giants. And again, Garoppolo not there, but he's there because his money is still the $137 million. He has not approached the organization to say, look, let's do what New Orleans does. Let's get some more players in. They say, well, Jimmy, we need more money. He says, okay, well, we can renegotiate my contract. He's not doing what the Rams have done. Hey, we need better players. Let's renegotiate my contract like the Rams. He's not doing that. And the Niner organization, they lack the leadership of him. He doesn't need to be the leader of the organization if he won't do what a leader does, Big C. Give me your thoughts on who has more to lose tonight. Is Eli or the Niners, Big C, at Levi Stadium? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think Eli does, because Nick Mullins won his game last week, Charlton, in his first performance, and now he's going to face Eli. Eli has been maligned all year, Charlton. His career is basically over with the Giants. I mean, you got rid of Ben McAdoo last year. Ben McAdoo saw that the problem with Eli Manning is that he couldn't compete at the NFL level any longer, and he benched him last year. And he was ridden out of town by the media, by the fans, and by the owners of the team, Charlton.
Yeah.
Come back again a year later, Eli Manning's even worse this year than what he was last year. Ben McAdoo told everybody what the problem was when he was the coach of the Giants.
Yeah.
Everybody said, no, he just wants to be in charge. Well, that's what the head coach is. It's a dictatorship.
Yep.
but now, with the Giants struggling, Charlton, with only one victory this year, they tried to blame Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
And you can't blame him. You got to blame the quarterback.
Yeah.
So Eli Manning, Charlton, if he loses this game tonight against Nick Mullins, he just proves that his career is completely over.
Yeah, and no matter what happens, it's football, and everybody loves football. We just wish that everyone stays healthy, especially in California with all the fires going on. Real quick in the NBA for November the 12th on this beautiful Veterans Day holiday weekend, Orlando at Washington, Philadelphia at Miami, New Orleans is at Toronto, Dallas at Chicago, Utah at Memphis, Brooklyn at Minnesota, Phoenix at Oklahoma City, San Antonio at Sacramento, and Golden State at L.A. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, what I want to talk about in the universe is that America lost an iconic figure today. And most young boys and older boys in America know who this man is, because he brought so much joy with the flashlight to their life, reading under the sheets, reading the comics. Stan Lee, the inventor of the Marvel Comics series, Charlton, passed away today at the age of 95. Stan Lee is known for Iron Man, Superman, the Hulk, Black Panther, all of those shows that we've seen on television, Spider-Man, Charlton. Stan Lee created that. But as a young man, Charlton, when you had to go to bed and you had a flashlight, you were under your sheets reading the comic books. You were reading about Stan Lee, who has been so integral in the lives of so many American boys and men, Charlton, and young girls.
Yeah.
Because he gave them adventure. He gave them insight to the future. He gave them a separation from the real world, Charlton, that they'd sit up and enjoy. To the passing of Stan Lee, my sympathies and thoughts go out to his family, but also America, that he brought so much joy and the world, Charlton.
Big C, that is very well said. He will be missed, but he will not be forgotten. Also, not forgotten every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, as we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.